All right, welcome to Do or Done. See, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with two millennials with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is...
Glad to be back behind the Coca-Bolo. Gearmatic, John, whatever you want to call me, Kyle.
And I'm Kyle.
Just take over the intro, no worries.
I love it.
So, I would say that I'm the Saul to John's Jimmy, and then Dave is good old Gene. You know, you're on your last legs, man.
Yeah, I think we're all on our last legs. That's it for Better Call Saul. Man, what I would do for a Cinnabon right now. With the greatest product placement in all of television. Week after week, I was craving one of those cinnamon rolls. But yeah, we're going to say goodbye to Better Call Saul and the Breaking Bad universe tonight. Plus, we're going to say hello again to the Game of Thrones universe when we talk about House of the Dragon. One show is ending, another show is beginning. A lot to talk about tonight.
What's it, like 2007 again? 2006, whatever.
Make it 2007 again, as Jack Donaghy would say. All right. But man, we got this first segment, and John, I really need your help on it.
In and out points.
In oder out. In oder out. In, out, in, out, in, out.
Yes, it is in and out points. And now the summer movie season is winding down. We're in the dog days of August, so not many new releases to discuss. I mean, if we look at the box office right now, Top Gun Maverick is still somehow at number 4 at the box office.
This is absurd,
After
man.
13 weeks, it's over, Kyle. We lost. But we'll get to that later in September. But Lionsgate actually had a new release these last 2 weeks, and they released Fall. The only issue with the release was the initial rating for the film. Now, this movie is about 2 young women who are in danger of plunging from the top of a 2,000-foot tall radio tower. And naturally, being in a situation like that, it was riddled with F-bombs, which would result in an R rating. So that was cramping the box office for such a small budget film. But you can't reshoot it with that kind of low budget. What do? You turn to artificial intelligence dubbing technology. And this technology uses the same principles used to create deepfakes. So this system called Flawless TrueSync AI altered the mouth movements of the actors to match the alternate dialogue. So those F-bombs became freaking. What do you think about this? Some deepfake technology being used in some mainstream films, John.
So we saw this with that one film that we covered in the past where the actor acted in German and then he said all the voice lines in English, and they used a very similar, if not the same system to change his mouth movements into the English phonemes or whatever the movement is. I think phonemes are the actual sounds. This is not something that's really new, but I think it's really cool. I mean, I think this brings in, in this case, they're using it to change their rating, which is cool. But that whole technology, that whole thing we talked about with being able to have the language appear to be different when someone's speaking a different language is great. I mean, think of all the opportunities for people who maybe can't hear and are lip reading or all that stuff, or even just the immersiveness for everybody. It's just so much better. So I think, big thumbs up.
And there's a lot of pros to this. I mean, even just like the idea of just saving so much money. Sure, there's some video effects work in there that's going to cost money, but it's definitely better than reshooting and redoing anything on location with the actors and stuff. But then I will say one of the big cons I'm seeing is just this deepfake stuff really scares me. And it's just like,
it is scary.
Even they could take this podcast and they could have us talking about any topic completely. They could completely change the topic on us. Same with this. We're starting with a word, but what's stopping, a full sentence or a full monologue, a full movie? And then it's just like, was this actor even there? Like,
if you're the actor, are you like worried that they're implanting words that you would never say or whatever. I don't know. It depends on what it is, but I mean, you could be edited a certain way to look bad too. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just weird to think about that people are capable of doing it. I mean, it was only a matter of time. It's just wild that they're able to do it well enough to like change a whole rating. That's crazy. Yeah. But you know what I think they should have done? I think they should have made them stick with original like ADR and just try to put freaking over.
Yeah, what like the Samuel L. Jackson where it's like I've had it with these Monday to Friday snakes or on that whatever, like that whole like the snakes on a plane line is. I can't remember the exact wording, but it's just like some completely over the top.
You know,
thing.
I think there's got to be a thing where people remember their best ones, because there's a one from, I think, Happy Gilmore or Billy Madison. I know it's an Adam Sandler, where he says, right in the rat hole instead of like a-hole, which is just like, what? Who decided to change it to that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm seeing if I can find the Samuel L. Jackson line. But yeah, some most ridiculously edited for TV film lines. I'll read through a few when I pull up the article. But I will say it is interesting though. Like for me, the issue is less with like the rating, but it's like with the director and the producers, because it's like, did you not know before filming this? Like, what was your intention? You know, what was the script? Yeah, like when Lionsgate, like, did they just get the distribution rights after the fact of it being shot? Or was it like, here's $5 million, go make your film, and then they get it back? It's like, whoa, what's with all the nudity and the violence and the language? It's like, did you not know what you were signing up for? I mean, the film is like fall. Like, I mean, if I was in that situation, I'd be saying more than freaking, I'll tell you that.
I could definitely see some investor coming in and being like, at the end, being like, hey, we want this to be in a wider audience. Like, make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, I could totally see that happening. So I don't know if I would fault them, or, you know, think of it from the actor's perspective. If you have to think about what you'd say and then tame it down, are you delivering the same performance? You know? So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess one of the actors said, quote, when we were filming the movie, we didn't know if we were an R or if we were PG-13. So I said the F word so many times, I think Scott, who's the director, wanted to kill me in post when we were trying to get a PG-13 rating. And the tech was so good for her, she wasn't even sure what scenes were redubbed in the end. Like, she didn't know what was actually fixed. Was that good. Yeah, I can't find this article more. It has a video of all the examples, so I'm not watching it right now. But I do have the Samuel L. Jackson line where he initially said, I've had it with these mother effing snakes on this mother effing plane. It was, I've had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane. So the same intention, it's still there.
Oh my God. That is great.
But yeah, even though they did all this work on this film, it's not working too well at the box office, actually. After 2 weeks, it's number 13 at the box office, and it's made just under $5 million so far over these like 2 or 3 weeks it's been out. So
yeah, I mean, I hadn't even heard of it until right now, but also like I think with these type of films, like I don't even think we expected this to make a bunch of money. You would want to go R to maybe catch, I don't know, some kind of audience like that. I don't know.
Also, I don't know. The premise, from what I've heard from us talking about it, sounds like it could be a 5-minute scene, not a movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah. What is it? An hour and a half, 2 hours of
them almost falling? Like who knows?
Well, you'd get the obligatory on the edge right here, and then flashback to 2 years before the fall.
And that's that's half the movie.
You know, it's the record scratch. You're probably wondering how I got into this situation.
Yeah.
And then all right. Well, there's one network you would definitely not hear the F word on at all, and that is the CW. Now, the CW was founded 16 years ago. And throughout that short lifespan, it's been known as the youngest broadcaster, the broadcaster with the youngest audience. It has tons of, young adult-centric content. You got Riverdale and The Flash and all those other superhero-type shows. So it's understandable that the internet was a little confused when we found out that the average age of the viewer for the CW is 58. According to Live Plus 7 data from Nielsen, the average age is 57.4. So linear and a week's worth of DVR, when you combine that, it's 57. So I guess it's a little lower when you add all that stuff in. It's not the 58. That's, you're rounding your age down to 57. It sounds a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so mid 50s, late 50s.
I've got my theory.
Yeah, what's your theory?
I've got my theory. You look at every CW show, right?
Yeah.
It's always insanely, ridiculously good looking, like young people. It's just like no blemishes. Even like the character, who are the character, they come in and they're like flawless. It's insane. So I bet it's just old people leering over young things that they can't get anymore. That's my
Well, I was going to
theory.
say, I'm looking at this like Riverdale image here, and how long has this show been on? I feel like these teenagers of Riverdale have to be in their like mid 30s at this point. Like, how old?
I know, man.
Are those spouse kids, right? Aren't they in this? The Dylan and whatever,
Cole?
the Jughead. Yeah, Cole.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me look up the Riverdale cast, and I'm gonna see what their ages are, because that thing's been on. It's 2017 is when it started. They're getting up there. They have to
Do
be.
we know what channel CW is? Because I could also see old people just like turning it on.
Well, it's one of those kind
like
of
11.
pseudo broadcast
Yeah.
ones.
Right.
Like, it's one of those early, like channel 10, 11
Yeah.
on there. So let's see here. I mean, the star of it, KJ Appa here, is 25. I'm gonna look up. Let's see. Where's the Cole Sprouse? He has to be 30. Like, he's turning. Yeah, it's like Jesus. Yeah, he's almost the average age of CW. Right. He's getting there. But this article also brings up from Variety a few of the other broadcast networks, and while CW is at 58, it's towards the younger end of the spectrum, but it's not the youngest. That's actually Fox. Fox has the youngest age. Their primetime median age is 56.6. And if you look at their total day, instead of just the primetime hours, it's 56.2. So it's even lower. We're getting lower and lower. Now we're in 56 versus 57 and 58. I mean, I just remember from all of our classes, it's 18 to 34. That's the demo that we want and care about. It's like we're not even close anymore on broadcast TV.
So let me ask. Oh, I'm doubling. Hang on.
Wow.
Why with the Nielsen box, how does that, like, do you input the names of the ages of everybody when you do it?
That's
like,
the Nielsen is the biggest confusing. It makes no sense. I don't even know what they do now, because back in the day it was like literally a journal that you would send back in the mail, and now I think those are the boxes. But I'm sure at this point it's like some kind of app. So I bet you can send off your data with that. But I would also assume do you just register your household, or I don't know exactly how it works.
How do we know how many people and what ages? Are they supposed to report that for every show they watch and say, like, Jimmy was in the room and I was in the room and Todd was here, like.
Yeah, and these are always estimates anyways, because it's like when you have the Super Bowl, it's like, 110 million people watch. It's like, do you know that for real though? Because I mean, how many people? Sure, you can count the TV streams that are being on, but it's like, how many people are having Super Bowl parties?
Yeah.
It's like, how many people are actually in the room watching it?
But what I would be curious about now is what we've showed is that older people watch broadcast TV. Now you take the shows on CW. How does that relate to the age of who's streaming that?
Streaming. I'm sure streaming is definitely different. I would love to see the differences. But yeah, I mean, especially with CW, I'm looking at like CBS though, and like they're the oldest network here with 64.3. I would be shocked if the streaming things outside of like a show like Survivor or Big Brother is not 64.3 like for streaming as well. Like, name one 28-year-old like streaming 12 seasons of NCIS, like, get out of here. Blue Bloods.
Maybe
I gotta watch my Selleck on Blue Bloods. It's like,
I don't know. I know a lot of kids that love Criminal Minds, which is
that is true. That is
wild,
true.
But it's a weird one. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, This may appeal to those 57 to 64-year-olds. My next in and out point here. According to the New York Times, Walmart is investigating building its own streaming service and is talking to some big name content players about which shows and movies it can offer to Walmart Plus subscribers. The company has apparently held discussions with Paramount, Disney, and Comcast.
This is where all the HBO Max shows are going. We figured it out.
That might be onto something, John. Maybe that's like, okay, well, we get rid of these other shows on HBO Max. We could sell them to Walmart and make some money. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be worth it for me to join Walmart Plus. Walmart Plus is a thing?
Yeah, I think that's like they're competing with Amazon.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it's pretty much like their Amazon Prime. You have like free deliveries from the stores on like, orders over 35. You get fuel discounts at like certain gas stations and stuff like that. But yeah, they're really trying to take on Amazon with like now content. They're going to try to do that as well, it looks like.
I feel like all these major companies are just trying to just keep getting like bigger without necessarily, I don't know what
Ever
the
asking
plan is.
why.
Yeah, because
why are we doing this?
Yeah, it's just like adding, I guess, a line of information and then where you need to buy all of your stuff and consume all of your stuff, your groceries, everything. And we get to pump information to you. I mean, it's like it's like all content media-wise and then all content that you need to consume to live. It's insane. It's wild.
Yeah, so Walmart, over the last few years have showed their cards. They acquired Vudu in 2010 before selling it to Fandango in 2020, but they were thinking, oh, maybe we get Vudu, we add that to this kind of like service. Or they had plans to make their own service in 2019 and talks with maybe let's do something with Redbox. But then, too bad, Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. They came in, swooped it up from Walmart. Sorry, next time, guys. If you want Redbox, you gotta wake up. You gotta wake up a little earlier in the morning. But yeah, so
how come I never see them hiring Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment? How come they're never hiring?
Because they hire the same four
it's who
actors.
you know. It's really a who you know kind of. And once you're in, it's nepotism. It's Hollywood. It's just really hard to get into that field.
Who you know, and do you know how to get to the offices? Because we don't know either.
Yeah, but yeah. So I saw that The Verge, they're theorizing Walmart could license content and create a Walmart exclusive originals, or they could emulate this Amazon channel product thing where instead of competing with other streaming services, they kind of help users subscribe to them. So those are the two avenues I feel like Walmart could go. Do they go make original content, or do they just kind of facilitate to original content? And we found out, let's see, a couple days ago actually, Walmart Plus subscribers can now get a special deal with Paramount Plus. Walmart and Paramount have signed a deal to offer subscribers of Walmart Plus and the ad-supported tier of Paramount subscription service, Paramount Plus, for free. So it's kind of like this Walmart Paramount bundle. You get Walmart Plus, hey, we'll let you get Paramount Plus for free.
Well, I feel like we see these deals being made all the time. I think we're going to see more and more of that stuff, and then they're going to start adding sports and gambling onto those things as well. It's all going to be added on there, man. It's wild. But in my mind,
and ads on and ads on. It's this pseudo cable. Now we're taking our grocery stores and adding it into cable.
Yeah, and you all got to subscribe to do it. Subscriptions are going to be the death of us.
Yeah.
But I was going to say I had Walmart. If they made original content on their own, all I could picture in my mind is Lifetime movies and Duck Dynasty. That's all I figured.
Yeah, I just picture lots of camo. Yeah, that's. But all right. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Who knows? A year or two from now, episode 443, we be talking about a Walmart Plus original.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, I got a show that I'm surprised isn't on Walmart, Paramount Plus, whatever. It's instead on Netflix. They're bringing out the big guns with the latest project from the streamer that brought you Too Hot to Handle and Love is Blind. We got another one. And in order to talk about this dating reality show, we're going to... I almost did a back in time.
I know. I was like, wait, I'm not prepared for that.
we're not going back. We're looking at the future because it's coming attraction.
Here are some exciting coming attractions.
I'm a little rusty because I'm excited to talk about Dated and Related. In this series, debuting next month on Netflix, a group of singles enter a gorgeous mansion in search of love, but the twist is that they enter the house with their sibling who is also looking for love. We all saw the trailer for this, so that's what we're basing our preview, our review on. John, Dated and Related, are you going to be there September 2nd on Netflix?
I am not. Unfortunately, I think I'm busy that day.
Oh, yeah?
Until I had seen the trailer, I was a little worried that it was going to be a show where it's like, oh yeah, surprise, your second cousin's like, midway through. Thankfully, that's not the case.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too.
I was like, oh, Netflix, what are you doing? But no, thankfully, it's more you know that your family member's there and you're trying to not be embarrassed by them, and what are you doing to your date in front of them? So it's not much better, but a little bit better.
Yeah, watching this trailer was all over the place with tone, because it starts off like, it's like, oh, look at all these sexy models, and then it instantly is like, nope, just kidding, we're doing this like goofy like, twist or whatever. But then the sibling has your back. The sibling is going to help you and take care of you and protect you and this and that. And then it was like cut to, watching your sibling make out with another person in front of you on the couch. It's like the whiplash in this trailer was back and forth. But Kyle, you're tuning in. I know what you like to watch. This is right up your alley.
Dated and Related. No, I had the same thought as John. I was like, yeah. But anyways, the thing that I was going to say, and you're so right, Dave, about the trailer being all over the place, that at one point I was like, this could actually be wholesome if they wanted to take it that way. Like, oh, I know like the struggles they have with dating. Like I know she's normally into crappy dudes or whether this or that, and they can help each other out. But then it just becomes weird that they're like
forcing
all
each other
just
in the
together.
Same room.
And yeah, it's like, this is bad. And then the producers are going to put them in awful situations where this is going to be an issue, of course. So
you're already seeing like the situations, like they're going to, of course, do like this, like on a double date with like two sibling pairs. Like that one guy's like watching his like sister make out in front of him. Like it's like this awkward third wheel situation. It's just like,
that would be awkward even if you weren't related to them. Like, you know what I mean?
It's true.
So that just kind of sucks all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's wild that, again, like these shows really click on Netflix. Like with the Too Hot to Handle, we talked about that. Love is Blind. For some reason these really click. But then it's like, I feel like Netflix, what are you doing? Sometimes like this is almost like a mini What the Q of like
Dude, people love this stuff though.
Yeah, I get that, but it's like, like what do you want to be? Because like they at the same time they're gonna have this right next to some prestige TV show, and this is like the issue that we had initially with like HBO Max, and maybe possibly again with HBO Max and Discovery. It's like you're gonna put whatever Big Bang Theory next to The Sopranos, next to 90 Day Fiance, and it's just
I mean, dude, they're in trouble. They're hurting subscriber wise. They've got awful plans ahead. They need any kind of influx in cash, and I guess this is going to be what it is now.
I mean, reality shows are cheap.
Yes, and that's they constantly go to that well. So yeah, dude, this is what Netflix is like now. I don't the days of like prestige TV when even like House of Cards was on initially, it's just it's a different vibe now, man.
Yeah. All right. September 2nd, Dated and Related for any of those that are interested in that. I don't think we will be watching this one, but we did watch this other prestige television show, same level of dated and related, and it's Better Call Saul. We're going to wind it all down. The series finale, spoilers ahead. Send us back.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
All right, Better Call Saul, the series finale, Saul Gone, dropped 1 week ago today, August 15th. And again, spoiler alert, we're going to spoil the series finale, the entire series, the final season, everything. So run if you haven't finished yet. Just like Saul, who is on the run under this identity of Cinnabon manager Gene, who is also now on the run. And all roads point back to a trial in Albuquerque for the lawyer once known for working side by side with the drug kingpin Walter White. All right, so we're going to start, I think, with the finale and then kind of work our way backwards. You guys both had like a chance to discuss the series after the premiere and then the mid-season finale, and I didn't get to talk about it at all. So I got a lot to say. I'm very excited to talk about the series, but before I divulge my thoughts, I'm going to go to, I think, one of the biggest super fans I know, John. What do you think of the Better Call Saul finale?
It's what it needed to be. I really liked it. I don't know if I like the outcome, but I think that's okay because that's what it needed to be, you know? So, I mean, the cinematography was there, the story's there, the feelings are there, the acting's there. It was great. I'm sad it's over. How many years has this been? I mean, if you go back to the start of Breaking Bad, it's like the whole thing's been building and building and building, and now it's done. Like, I kind of almost don't know what to say about it. But yeah, it was really good. I'm glad that I was able to be around to watch it. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I really like the finale. I mean, and I feel like the finale fit what the show was. I mean, this isn't Breaking Bad, and I think a lot of people, I saw on the internet that the people that were disappointed were expecting, I guess, Saul to have a machine gun in his trunk, and it's like, dude, you guys were watching the wrong show. This show is always about this identity and character and love. I mean, and we got all of that in this final season, in the final episode, and I guess it makes sense for a legal show that started in a courtroom that we end in a courtroom for one last showtime. Like, this was his I did it for me. I liked it. This was his Walter White moment where he gets to do this monologue in this big show and kind of admit he was under this persona of Saul while Kim ran, he hid under this persona and used it as like some kind of coping mechanism because of Kim and everything else that has happened. And so I got a lot more to break down, and we'll definitely talk about like the final moments and the final scenes. But Kyle, your thoughts on the finale?
I liked it. We got to see these little scenes with his brother and Walter White, and it really rounds out a lot of stuff. I liked it, and they added light to Jimmy and Saul and all those characters, so it was really well done, and we got to see those characters again, which was fun. So yeah, I think they did really well in being able to bring back those characters so that we could see. And then I think I'm like John in that I don't love the outcome, but it's what he deserves, and he probably deserves a lot worse actually. But and it was
86 years isn't. I mean, I think he probably needed more.
And I think I was on Jimmy's side, or Saul's side the entire time or whatever. But this last episode, it felt like the tone shifted just a little bit, and I was like against him quite a bit, especially during like the deposition scene.
What's interesting is, in the context of the show by itself, like, Jimmy turns into Saul and then he goes off to Breaking Bad. So everything that happened in Breaking Bad that he helped with isn't thoroughly examined here. So I think there's a big disconnect from,
you forget what much of a scumbag Saul was in Breaking Bad after we've like come to like love Jimmy McGill and this whole
Jimmy
time.
struggle and us being excited to see his transition, because the start of Saul, when he first became Saul and was doing those court cases and getting everybody help that they needed and all that was cool. Jimmy, like that was cool. Saul, like he was helping people maybe more than they deserved, but stuff was going good. And then what we don't see is everything that happened in Breaking Bad, where he caused a whole bunch of issues and really helped people he shouldn't have been helping. So I think that there is a big disconnect between the what's happening in the show and what happens when after he gets caught.
Yeah,
you're right.
And and I'd be so interested to eventually watch it. I'm almost thinking of like, do I start Breaking Bad now to kind of see all the things click? And it's because it's like the way that they had to put this puzzle together. Somehow they landed the plane of, doing this origin story to get to a certain point, but then also pick up after that point to then show the whole Gene stuff. It's like all these things had to fit in this spot, and they somehow managed to get those pieces to fit, like logically and just emotionally as well. And we get to this, final moment where in this kind of trial he finally says, what, like the name's McGill, like after wanting to have the case Saul Goodman versus Albuquerque or whatever it was. It's like, no, the name's McGill, Jimmy McGill. And then I find it interesting when we finally we go to the prison and we're on the bus with the prisoners, and they're like, you pretty much like, don't give me that, you're Saul, like that's who you are. And it's like this interesting thing because like I think like that's the audience too. It's like, no, like we like Saul, like
bring back
we bring more Saul, give us Saul. Like
that's part of the thing is I didn't necessarily want him to become Jimmy again. I wanted Saul, and that was part of the reason why the finale was a little unsatisfying. But again, it was what it needed to be. But you can see, I think you could see him on the bus fighting himself, whether he wants to be Jimmy. Or does he want to be Saul, where, all these people go into prison and presumably all the people in prison that he might have helped get reduced sentences, do they become, do they help him? Are they his friend? And I think we kind of saw that with him saying hello to everybody as he was getting called out to go visit his visitor, that everyone was friends with him and was, saying hello and was treating him nice. And
the guards were calling him Saul.
And it's like he built this reputation, and as much as he wants to escape it, he's still living with it and potentially benefiting from it. So it's interesting.
And it's always like this kind of line that we saw even like with Walter White. Like, is he Heisenberg? Like, was that always inside of him and it just came out because of this? Like, and it's like with this here, it's like, was he always have this nugget of Saul in the back of his mind somewhere, and then this just brought it to the forefront? Was this always a mask? Like, was it? It's an interesting mix, and I just think, like, I love even just like there was a lot of obviously callbacks and Easter eggs we'll talk about, but even like in this prison at the very end when he's now cooking like in the prison, there's like two things. Like at first we see the bread mixer kind of reminding us of like the Cinnabon dough mixing there that he did as Gene, but even I think it could go farther back to the meth that we got cooked back in Breaking Bad episode 1. It's like seeing all like the chemicals and all the mixings and the formulas. It's like, so I just love how like it all went back to that. And then we get this final moment of them, of Kim visiting Jimmy, Saul, Gene in prison here. And it all goes back to that sharing of a cigarette together with the light shining over them back like we got in the pilot episode. The only color that we got in this black and white world is their spark, the flame of their cigarette, but that they share together there. I just think like it's like this kind of full circle moment, and I think it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think there was even a callback with at the end where he like does like the finger guns, and so there's some good callbacks, and I mean, for a bulk of this series, it was about Ray Seahorn's character and Bob Odenkirk's character. I mean, they were really running the show. I mean, I loved Ray Seahorn's character, but I loved her acting. and it was just so well done. So, I mean, that's what held this
and it's crazy to think, because I'm sure when they were doing the first episode, they had no idea what Kim was going to be for this series. Just like how in Breaking Bad, there's that long-standing like line that they were going to kill Jesse at the end of the first season. Jesse wasn't going to move past the first season, and the writer strike had some effects on that. But of course, like, the show would not be the show without Jesse. And same with how Saul, like, he came in, it was supposed to be just for a couple episodes, kept on more. The only reason Mike even exists was because Bob Odenkirk was busy on How I Met Your Mother doing a guest stint, and they needed somebody to kind of clean up Jane in Breaking Bad. So they bring in Mike, and because of that one thing, Mike is now involved in this whole universe. Like, it's crazy, just all this stuff like by happenstance. But you have this moment up, John, of the finger points, and I want to talk about this because like he does this is technically Kim's sign to Jimmy that this kind of started the whole Hamlin scam, and he does these shooting guns, and she ends up walking away. And I saw in this interview that Entertainment Weekly did with Ray Seahorn, and supposedly they shot different endings, including where she shot fingers back at him. But they ended up cutting it because they were worried people might think that this would imply that she was back in the game. So what do you think about this choice of one, her not returning it, and two, do you like the ultimate cut?
I think maybe it's the right choice that they made, because it leaves it open to interpretation. I mean, she maybe could have done a take where it's like half-hearted, so it's like, it's like, so we don't assume that she's coming back. But this kind of leaves it open to interpretation, and I think I like it. There's like a finality to it.
Yeah, like maybe she is able to like move on, but like he can't. Like, he's stuck, even though he wants to be McGill. He's Saul. That's just.
I think that scene of him that we start with the dough mixer in through her going in, going in to meet her in the thing, kind of exemplifies that Gene's there as part of him, Saul's there as part of him, and Jimmy's there as part of him. I mean, we have the bread making with the mixer and all that for Gene. Him on the bus trying to be Jimmy and he can't, and then everyone in the jail calling him Saul. Like, he, as much as he wants to,
all three are together now. Yeah.
As much as he wants to be just Jimmy, like, he can. I think he partially realizes that as much as he wants to be that, whether it's for him or for her or for both, like, he can't escape everything. And I think that kind of is reflected throughout the whole series with Slip and Jimmy and how we had some of those flashbacks of him. And even, when he went back to his hometown and met up with his friend in, what was that, season 2 or 3, like, it's still part of him. I don't know if he could escape it.
Yeah, that's why I don't necessarily agree with the idea that, like, Saul Goodman was a cover for everything that, Ray C, because that's been a part of him since before. Ray C. came around.
and maybe that is, like, I think we could talk about kind of like the time jump that after the Jim and Kimmy breakup in like 609, 610, I can't remember the exact episode. After that breakup, we immediately cut right to Saul, or waking up in the bed with the prostitute, and maybe it's like, was this like he was always Saul, but this was kind of like the last straw. Kim was like the last thing keeping him from going, 100% Saul. And, it also kind of plays on the fact of, the idea that, like, one day we will wake up and we won't even remember it, talking about Howard Hamlin's death. And it's like, is that this day? Is that the day when he finally woke up was the day he finally forgot it as well, and maybe forgot that whole, everything that went on before then?
Yeah.
So it's like an interesting choice. And for me, I really liked the time jump. Like, I saw a lot of people on the internet, it's like, well, we don't know how he got the blow up Statue of Liberty from the Kettleman. Who cares? Like, there's so, like, some little details that I don't need an answer for every little Breaking Bad Easter egg.
Yeah,
you know?
for me, I didn't need that either.
Yeah.
It was the tonal shift was just so abrupt
Yeah.
that it caught me off guard. So I was like, wait, I feel like I just got hit with a brick wall. I need some like time to
right
orient myself, you know, because it was just so abrupt. It felt like we yada yada'd a lot of stuff, and I was like, wait, but I get it. I mean, it's a way
It
to
might be
do
like
it, and
the
I think
straw
it
that
worked
broke
out,
the
but-
camel's back of like, all right, Kim's gone. This was the last thing. We're going to it. And just like the moment at the end where we see him in his office, I just think that image, like, you know, we're all excited. Oh, we want Saul, you know, it's going to be fun. And then it's like, it's almost like there's like a different light to him now. Like we're going to see Breaking Bad in a whole different way. It's going to be more heartbreaking, I think, knowing that why he's in this situation instead of, you know, what we saw earlier. But we're talking a little bit about Breaking Bad, and these last few episodes were interesting because while we focused in the world of Omaha and Gene, you know, black and white, we did get some color flashbacks to the Breaking Bad era. You know, of course, we got the return of Walter. We also got this scene that I liked between Kim and Jesse. What did you think of all these like kind of cameos and scenes, John?
Yeah, I think they helped contextualize the parallels between you know, Saul and Walter White in some cases, and I think it just fleshed out some more background stuff and you know, gave the characters more stake, you know, like of course, you know, Jimmy and Mike had a heart-to-heart at one point, and you know, it was them talking in the desert about how, you know, Mike regrets turning dirty and Jimmy wants more money, and like it just helps really world build and solidify and parallel what's happening in his life at that point, because I think we had that, and then, you know, we have Jimmy trying to go grab all his cash when he's trying to run, like, you know, it just kind of really just solidifies the characters as who they are and who they have always been.
Yeah, and for me, what I liked about this Jesse and Kim scene, while it's like, you know, he asked pretty much like, you know, is this guy any good? And of course she, you know, says he was when I knew him. And there's this moment between them. It's like, you know, at first it's like, oh, is this just like fan service to get Jesse in? And there is a little bit of that, but it's also there to like advance the plot. And as you were saying, like build the world, John, because it's like, I think this scene could have worked with this person being anybody. If it was just another Saul client, it's like this would still work, but because it's Jesse, it just adds a little bit of extra, you know, world building to it.
It also helped resolve the timeline a little bit, as to considering we're here and then we're here and then we're here, and you know what I mean. So it kind of solidifies that this isn't like, you know, 30 years ago. This isn't, you know, 20 years ago. This is months before, you know. So it really helps in that front as well.
The only thing that took me out about Jesse's scene was the fact that he's so much older. It's just like so glaringly obvious. The other ones you can kind of fake it or fudge it, but
because like for Bryan Cranston, it's like, okay, 15 years. It's like, okay, you know, if you're already 55 or 50 or whatever he was, it's like that's not big of a difference. But when you're 20 and you're going now to 40, it's like, okay, there's a difference. But one thing I really will like too is just how this story is kind of like it's Breaking Bad just told differently. It's like it's the change of a person, and we got this like on a full circle moment of where like Saul's downfall was a bit of pride, which was also Walt's downfall, and it was in a con against a man with cancer. I mean, and that all leads because of an elderly woman that took him down with his own commercial. And it's like it's like a full circle chef's kiss. Like it's just, and for him to hear like I trusted you from Marion, and just to be reminded of everything from season 1, season 2, that at the time we're like, what are we doing with this elder law and all this stuff? It all works. You know, he probably saw Irene in that moment, you know, when he like scammed her in a bit to try to, you know, get them to settle the whole Sandpiper case. Like it all connects, and it all works. So I just thought you know, the level of details and like callbacks and just setup on this show is just something I'm definitely going to miss. And I have some other ones here, you know, we can run through. You know, there's some small little ones, you know, throughout the the series, you know, even from like ice cream, you know, the specific flavor of ice cream that we saw him eat like many episodes ago, that when Nacho took him from the street corner there. But the opening credits, you know, we've always seen him, you know, because these are his tapes. These are his kind of like back in the day, my commercials. I want to rewatch these tapes over and over. And if you've been watching, after these 6 seasons, they've been degrading the tapes after every single play because they are the same 10 every season. And these extra 3 is when we got these like extra 3 episodes with Gene in this black and white world. And by this point, they are so degraded. They're warped. You got the blue screen of death, you know. And I even saw some people on Reddit post that there's like a frame or two in those that it's like from the coming episode, and you could see like record
so
in it as almost if he's making new memories or new cons as Gene.
On what was this, the 10th or 11th one or whatever, that 4 crossings was in there. Right here.
There you go.
And it says record, and it's just like, you know, you wonder what that is at the beginning, and then you see it through the episode. So I think that's really cool. And I think it does mark a shift from, you know, Gene looking back on his life and longing and seeing, you know, maybe the memories are fading and getting degraded to new. This is new, you know, we're making new memories, whether they're good or bad, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really gonna miss this show, miss this world. Is that it for this world? I mean, it sounds like, you know, at least the creators, Vince Gilligan, Peter Gould, they're going to be done, at least for the time being. They don't see anything coming. I mean, they somehow caught lightning in a bottle twice. Is there another world spin-off thing? Young Kim, Lalo, the Poyos manager Lyle now taking over for there's a manager opening at Cinnabon. Maybe he transfers from Los Poyos to Omaha. I don't know.
I just don't want to go back to the well too much and then have it stink. You know what I mean? Although I trust them. If they're doing it, I would trust them. It's just like, but do we have to make everything a universe? Couldn't we just start fresh here?
The Slip and Jimmy cartoon next, right? No?
Are you joking, or do you actually know about that?
No, I know a little bit about it.
I was going to say, because there actually is a Slip and Jimmy cartoon. Okay, just making sure. I didn't know if you just threw that out there as a joke.
I watched some of the first episode, I think. Gonna pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So I'm gonna use Kyle's transition because I think it's perfect. You were saying, why does everything have to be a world, an IP, and this and that? We're saying goodbye to Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, but we're saying hello to House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel series. The episode last night was The Heirs of the Dragon. This is the series premiere, set 172 years before the birth of Daenerys Targaryen. This prequel series chronicles the beginning of the end of the House of Targaryen and the events leading up to and covering the war of succession between that family, known as the Dance of the Dragons. Right, I think I got all that right. And I'll say right up front, you guys know me, I'm not a Game of Thrones expert. Far from it. I've watched the first season like 2 or 3 times. I watched the final season, or at least most of it, once. I missed all that stuff in the middle there. But I did watch this. And I think it will surprise you. I actually kind of, I was into this. I was maybe it's because it was like less characters, less jumping around. It was a clear succession story. I followed it. I was into it. But I want to hear what you guys think. Maybe I'm going to be the lone wolf here. Kyle, House of the Dragon.
I'm into it. I did enjoy it. Yeah. It is good to be back in the Game of Thrones world. A lot of dragon action. They brought those suckers out. But yeah, it was like you said, it was easy to kind of follow. I'm sure there's Easter eggs for people that have, are big into the world. And some people, I've been seeing on the internet, some people say it's watered down. Maybe because the noobs like Dave can get it, apparently. So
they made a show for me. Let me enjoy something. You guys had your Game of Thrones. Let me have this now.
That's a hard balance to strike, though. I mean, you can't join in, even though it's a story like beforehand. you can't join in with like the full force of everything. Like you gotta make it approachable for anybody. I mean, not to jump back to Better Call Saul, but there's significant info in there that you're missing if you don't watch the show. Like whereas this seems like it should be okay to be a joining, a stepping on point.
Yeah, and as Kyle said, you can tell HBO is putting their money into this. They got the costumes in this, the production design, the music, it's all there. I will say, like the original series, the dragon effects are a little odd still for me. I don't know. There's points where it's like, eh. And then, of course, I saw Twitter picking on the wigs. It's like, we're really going to do 6 seasons of these wigs? We chose these guys. Okay. But Game of Thrones, they built... up to dragons throughout the series, but here we're starting with them, and they have the budget. Game of Thrones season 1 was about $6 million an episode. By season 8, $15 million an episode. Here we're just like around under $20 million an episode.
Wow.
We're still not even close to the Lord of the Rings money, and we're not even at Stranger Things season 4, which was like $30 million an episode.
Did this look like $20 million worth of episode to you?
I mean, the only thing I could think of is like when it's like a new series, there's so many like sets and costumes and things to build. Yeah. And then it's like, okay.
But is episode 2 going to be $20 million more? You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
How much of it is necessary stuff for the show and how much of it is an episode costs this much to make day after day after, you know what I mean?
Maybe they're actually just paying their video effects people correctly, cough other,
so they can
companies
edit all those
and
cups
networks.
out,
Because you gotta think like all of they went from pretty much to like close-ups and these close conversations for a bulk of it, and when they did go zoom out, it looked like all CGI. I mean, like no practical really. So.
Yeah, so they're definitely spending money. And I also saw like HBO's like this is like their largest marketing push ever. It's like valued at over like $100 million just on marketing. Like they're going all out on this series because this is going to be hopefully for them their next big franchise appointment viewing. And you guys sent me that video from New York City of somebody taking of the building there, and you can kind of see all the apartments are all watching HBO live. You can see the light of the TV changing at certain moments, and we got the ratings. They just came in like a couple hours before we started. It was 10 million across linear and HBO Max last night. That's the largest audience for any new original series launch. I mean, the original Game of Thrones premiered with about 2.2 million. So it's 10 million.
Well,
so it's
also
definitely, but
it's like they're coming in with a solid fan base. They better hope they have this huge numbers, or else it's like, what did I do with my 20 million an episode?
They better hope they keep it. Because I mean, after last season of the previous show, that's true. This has some boots to exceed, like.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it was interesting. I feel like they kind of eased us back in. Maybe you guys will disagree, but I feel like they eased us back into, like, the violence and nudity where at first I'm like, okay, well, we're really, restraining ourselves here. Even the King's Landing attack, sure, there were some things cut off, but we never, like, actually saw, like, the cut on camera. It was, like, all implied off camera, and we saw, like, the aftermath. I'm like, oh, wow, we're not really showing that. Or even, like, some of the nudity. It's like, okay, maybe, someone's in a bath, but nope, we're not showing them in the bath. It's like, oh, maybe here's like a butt, the obscure, like from the distance sex scene. I'm like, whoa. I was like, no, that was just getting us ready. Because then we get like the daytime night fight. That was bloody. And then the celebratory orgy scene that we got there as well. It's like, okay, we were just starting, easing ourselves back into the world of violence and nudity.
Didn't he give like an impassioned speech in the
just as everything else was going on? Yeah,
that was hilarious. I'll make this joke off camera, but
oh, okay. Yeah, so I think what we should do is, to make it kind of easy, kind of just run through some of the characters, at least the 3 or 4 main characters here, just to get a feel for, what's going to happen. Because I want to start off with, I'm not going to be able to pronounce any of these names, so I'm just going to call her Princess Targaryen. Next in line to the throne here, spoiler alert at the end of the episode. Bit of a rebel, doesn't want to, serve as a childbearer. She wants to be a knight. She wants to ride dragons. She wants to do all those things. And her father, the king, wants a son. Obviously no luck. We'll get to that. But she's going to be the female heir. I mean, what do you think about this and how it's going to play out the rest of the season, John?
I'm not sure yet. My Game of Thrones lore is not great. I haven't read the books, and I find it a little hard to follow, especially from the last show where there's a lot of names thrown around as to this person did this person did that, and it was just raw names flying around. I always find that really hard to follow. So we could kind of know. I mean, I presumably we kind of know the loose what happens, as far as the overarching points of this, but I just personally am not sure because I find it a little hard to follow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because it is a prequel, and I'm sure there's Game of Thrones super fans that know, like, well, actually, in this episode of this season, or even in this book, it's like they mentioned that there's only been one or maybe zero, female king, and it's just like, okay, then we can piece together this didn't work out or this and that. And so, yeah, I'm interested in that. And obviously, we're going to have like this kind of family struggle here because we have the brother to the king, her uncle, Damon here, a bit of a hole, I would say. Yeah. He leads the watch to just ransack and just destroy, I think, King's Landing, is it? Like, is just for really no reason. He's cheating in a jousting match. He's tripping the horse, kind of a low blow. And I will say, I kind of liked when he was, getting his comeuppance a little bit in that battle, but I was real worried that when the guy, who gave him the truce or whatever, let him yield, was going up there, I was not going to be surprised if there was going to be like a sucker punch or something behind his back, killing him by the end of that match.
Yeah. Something about the scene made me think that he's not as strong as they make him out to be. Definitely. Especially that moment came right after, like, the king's, I guess, cousin or sister or something said, like, these boys basically have never been to war because they've had like 100 years of peace. They don't really know what they're doing. So I think he's more like Bark. I mean, he seems like a psychopath sometimes, but I don't think he's as
just
strong
is entitled. He's never like actually had to like do anything. He's gotten everything handed to him, and of course, like who's really gonna like put up too much of a fight up against like the king's brother? And like it's.
I think part of his strength also is that dragon that we saw him fly away on. Like I think he, if I'm not mistaken, uses that as a tactic to get his way, whether it's using it in not war, but to take over places or whatever. I think that also ties into it greatly.
Yeah, so we got these two people here that are going to be trying to maybe take over the throne from King Viserys. He had to make a choice this episode. His wife was in labor, hoping for that male heir, and just with complications with that whole scene, it's like we got to decide here: do you want to take a chance with the baby, or have a wife at the end of the day here? And this was a harrowing scene, the entire process. And while he does choose the baby doesn't end up making it. And then just to add to that, we find out that the king is kind of having some health issues. He has some kind of lesion in his back that's not healing. We also see he gets, he nicks himself on the chair, which, I mean, makes sense. There's a lot of sharp edges on that chair. And I don't know, is that just showing that, he ain't fit for it? Like, he can't even sit in the chair without hurting himself. So I think, obviously, he's not long for this world. I don't know how long he's going to be around. Because they're setting up that he has some complications already. But
I don't think he's gonna live long at all. He's got that sore on his back. He's already named. I love how you have to name it in line, and he's gonna have to basically fight from now on with anyone because they're gonna be at his back because he broke precedent and all these things. So things are not looking good for this dude.
And I'm really just curious to see how this all plays out. This, I guess, might be a slight spoiler, but again, this is just like production stuff. So this is what you want to know. But like, I'm curious about the future of the show because I'm hearing halfway just from the episodes that critics have gotten that we may get a time jump. I see a lot of these younger actors have other actors listed on Wikipedia. So is it going to be 2 timelines? Is it going to be, we're going to just skip ahead? And like, where are we skipping to? Because like, how long is the series going? Like, we can't go, this isn't, I mean, the show Succession is not going to name Logan's successor in the end of season 1. Like, we were going to get 3, 4, 5 seasons of that. And then I saw this Entertainment Weekly article from the showrunners that was like, this show could be an anthology show. Like, we tackle different parts of the Targaryen history. Could we go forward? Could we go back? Like, could it just be like every season is a different moment in their history?
Well, what's scary to me is that they don't know the answer themselves.
That is a good question. That is a good point.
It would be good to know when you're making the show.
George R. R. Martin's still writing half of it, isn't he?
I mean, I guess.
Well, it goes full circle. They can use the deepfake technology they used in Fall and just change up the wording around, and the successor is now.
Yeah, they got to use AI to finish the books because he's like, what are you doing? Like 2 pages a day? Like, he's taking forever.
Dude, and he's rich as hell. He's so
making
done.
this show. He's not doing this. Like, come on. But speaking of that, it's like, I will say, I felt maybe a little too on the nose. It felt at points like this is Game of Thrones' greatest hits at some points in the episode where it was just like, the score constantly being like reused just to get the dun, 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 dun. And then the amount of last names that they thrown in at the end for fans to be like, hey, I know that name. Hey, Stark, this person, and we got to say the Song of Ice and Fire, and winter is pretty much coming. They said all the lines. Oh, check. It's like, Better Call Saul didn't have every single thing in the first episode. You got to pace these Easter eggs out. You threw in like, I saw this like page of like the 87 Easter eggs in the game. Get out of here. Come on.
Before you know it, Ed Sheeran will be in episode 3.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God. But anything else from House of the Dragon? You guys, I take it you're gonna keep going.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with it at least for the next couple. I mean, it is good. It is fun to watch.
Definitely. And to be a part of it, especially for me at the ground floor of this thing. I was a little late to the Game of Thrones.
Maybe when this anthology is done, you can go back and watch the original one.
Yeah, you're gonna watch the first 6 episodes.
Yeah. Oh my God. I have seen the first like 10 episodes or whatever it is of season 1 2 or 3 times. And by the 3rd time, I'm like, okay, I think I got it. I understand everything. I'm enjoying this because now I know all the connections. And then season 2 started. I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm out. I can't figure this out. But so that's House of the Dragon. I'm sure we'll talk about it later on, maybe for the finale of season 1 later on this year. And next week, though, we're not talking about any specific shows. We're going to be instead talking about the Emmys. It's hard to believe, but Emmy season is approaching. We're going to do our Emmy predictions next week. We released a clip show last week with kind of like our coverage of all the shows that are nominated. But next week we'll try to, more of a free flow predictions. This isn't any big bet against, good, bad, and watchable. It's kind of trying to figure out what's going on at the Emmys. So we'll do that. And then a few weeks after that, I think maybe a week after that, I believe, we'll have Amazon's answer to House of the Dragon, and that's Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So we got a lot going on, 2 big kind of fantasy shows to talk
Could
about.
Be more white-haired dudes.
We'll see.
The elves, man.
Yeah, they're coming. But all right, well, you can find these episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, and of course on Twitch, twitch.tv/DoRedundancy. Live Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Dual Redundancy so you can know exactly what we're talking about and when we're talking about it. And I got to thank both of you guys tonight, specifically for watching the Dated and Related trailer. I know I ask a lot from you guys, but I appreciate that.
I was wondering
Kyle,
what you were sending me when you sent the clip. I was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to watch this.
Yeah, and I also got to thank John for directing the show, putting it up into your podcast feeds. I couldn't do it without you guys.
Sure.
But until next time, I'm David Allen.
Jumper.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Do or Done See. Goodbye, everybody.